The remake of Super Mario RPG is just around the corner, and we were fortunate enough to have been granted early access. Now, we got to play through the first 3 hours of this remake, and after doing so, we've been reminded of just why Super Mario RPG is often considered not only one of the best SNES RPGs, but one of the best RPGs ever. What struck us about this remake in the opening hours is just how incredibly faithful the game is to its 1996 original. From the look and feel perspective, this is essentially the same title we played all those years ago. The visuals have of course been entirely redone, but the 3D top-down perspective and the squished down character models are straight out of the SNES original. The new visuals and colors look fantastic, and the true vibrancy of the Mushroom Kingdom and neighboring locations have been brought back to life. If we're to use a cliché, this is exactly how we remember it looking back in 1996. Whether it retains that feeling throughout is yet to be seen, but the opening hours are extremely promising. Of course, not everyone is going to be returning to Super Mario RPG, and this re-release gives many a chance to experience Mario's RPG origins for the very first time. Early on, this remake proves to be an exceptional gateway into the genre. There's plenty of tutorials, the controls are simple, and it effortlessly blends Mario's platforming prowess with all the tricks of the RPG genre. No time is wasted throwing you into action. The first few minutes see Mario running through Bowser's castle to save Princess Peach after all. Things don't quite go to plan, but they also don't go in the way you'd expect either. This is an RPG that trims all the fat from the genre. There's no complicated story about crystals, personal growth, or defeating a god. You don't really need to grind, and the early game's pacing is extremely brisk, but it's also stuffed full of charm and humor. Super Mario RPG is really silly, in a good way of course. Mario communicates through gestures and reenacts events to hilarious effect, and NPCs interact with him as though he is a celebrity, tricking him into jumping and freaking out when they're talking to him. That lighthearted tone also carries through into the pacing. You'll go from a town to a dungeon to a short minigame within minutes, but every aspect of the game feels daft or fun. Rolling down the river on a barrel is surprisingly challenging, it turns out, but we were grinning from ear to ear the entire time. Ignoring those minigames, the basic gameplay is split into two separate styles. On the field, you can explore, talk to NPCs, and find treasure chests, which are floating in the air like boxes which Mario needs to jump to hit, or in dungeons, fight enemies. Now, a truly 3D Mario game was still a few months away in 1996, but Super Mario RPG's 3D-esque environments let you look around towns, walk into houses, and jump in 8 different directions. The remake retains that picturesque box-like feel to a T. Each location and screen is small, but you can use the full 360 degrees. If you're coming back to the game, then a lot of the magic will be spotting those minor tweaks and extra details. The Mushroom Kingdom is full of toads, some have facial hair while others have actual hair, and the attention to detail in the grass, water, and brickwork is beautiful. If you're new, however, then the way the early game breaks up the locations, from towns to dungeons, is what will stand out the most. Early locations tend to have a handful of buildings, a shop, and an inn to explore, and each place is easy to navigate. Even the dungeons are fairly linear, but there are some locations like the forest maze which require a bit more puzzle solving or navigation. Then there is the combat. If you've played Mario & Luigi or Paper Mario, then a lot of the elements will be familiar to you. But if you're completely new to Mario RPGs, then this one is probably the best one to start with. To do damage, characters can do a standard normal attack or use a special, skills that require flower points like magic. But there's an added level of interaction with the action command, where if you time an extra button press perfectly, you'll do extra damage. And when the enemies come to return the favor, well, that perfect button press can also be used to guard against their attacks. Combat is also where the most new additions has come in, and so far they slot in perfectly to the gameplay loop. If you time your action command just right, not only will you do extra damage, but you'll also do splash damage to the rest of your opponents. If you get really good at this, and it's not as easy as it sounds, then turn-based encounters become breezy, fast-paced affairs that are over in seconds. And while this doesn't factor in much during early game, depending on the characters in your active party, you'll get a party buff if you manage to chain perfectly timed hits together. There are also Tribble moves, a brand new attack that sees all 3 of your party members team up to deal devastating damage to a single enemy or group. Throughout fights, you'll charge up a meter in the bottom left corner of the screen by timing your attacks or blocks perfectly, and once that meter is at 100%, you can unleash a dazzling animated triple move featuring all 3 characters in your party. We've only seen Mario, Mallow, and Geno so far, but like everything else in the game, we're sure they will all put a smile to our faces. All in all, the first 3 hours of Super Mario RPG Switch Remake has reminded us of just how delightful the original was. The SNES game is just simply timeless, and so far, the Switch Remake retains that level of excellence that we experienced in '96. If it manages to retain the charm and joy all the way through, while also sprinkling in a few touches throughout, then we reckon every Mario fan of Super Mario RPG, or the character in general, will have their wish come true come the 17th of November. Now, we'll have plenty of coverage of this game over on our website, NintendoLife.com. We'll have guides, we'll have a review, all that yada yada. But maybe you also want to hear my thoughts, because I got to play this game as well. I'm extremely honored that I got this opportunity, but man, let me tell you, you're in for a treat. I finally understand why people love this game. Now, mind you, I haven't played the original, but that also means that I got to experience this game from a completely fresh point of view. Now, what really surprised me was the writing. It was so fun and not at all what you'd expect in a Mario game, and I'm really here for it. You have original characters, you have a storyline that you don't normally see, and battling was also splendid. I love that you can perfectly time your input so you can do more damage or completely negate enemies' damage. It makes turn-based combat like this much more engaging, because instead of just pressing a button, you do an attack, you actually have to be actively involved, and sometimes that can be the difference between victory and defeat. The music. Oh man, it's so good. I can't wait for you all to take a listen to this. Now, in the settings, you also have an option to hear the originals, and I did try it out, but these new renditions of the songs are absolutely sublime. There's so much charm in this game. When you level up, the other party members start dancing. Mario, when he has to tell stories and transforms into other characters, I can't wait to just go back and play more. It was at the point where I was like, no, I want to play more of this game. It's so good. There's just fun new twists and turns, things you don't expect around every corner. Suddenly you're jumping on barrels and making music with tadpoles. I also just really like the structure. It starts off like any other game. Bowser kidnaps Peach, but then suddenly everything is turned on its head. You get introduced to new characters like Mallow and Geno, and you go to these places and meet characters that you don't normally see in a Mario game. There's also, of course, characters and enemies that you do know, but it's this mixture that came from the collaboration of Nintendo and Square that makes this so unique, and it's amazing to see that they brought it back, because so many people who didn't get to experience the original are gonna experience this, and man, am I glad that that's happening. I can totally see why people adore this game, and frankly, I'm in the same boat now. Get ready for this remake, you're all gonna love it. If you like this video, why don't you remake that subscribe button into a subscribe button, and don't forget to check out our website, NintendoLife.com, for all sorts of Nintendo related content. Stay safe, play this remake when it releases, and we'll see you in the next one. Felix from Nintendo Life, out.